So in today's video, we're going to look at how to vibe code a dynamic HTML dashboard from data in Google Sheets. And so we'll just start out our prompt. And then let's paste in here, so I'm not typing this whole thing, a little bit about our Google Sheet structure. And so we'll just tell it what tab name and the column names. And so, like for example, this one, the client name, we're going to ignore for display, sales rep, sector, and amount. And then let's tell it what we want it to do. And so first of all, let's say general UI. And then let's look at filters. Okay, and then let's add some scorecards at the top. So scorecards. And then chart section. Let's do one titled sales with, and what we should do here is make it so we can toggle between sales rep and sector, because we have both of those there. So we might want to show either one. So let's do by sales rep by sector, drop down next to it to toggle the display for the chart and breakdown. And then we could do stacked bar chart in dark mode. And let's show total amount over each bar. And so if you don't know all the details in this, you can add this later. I'm just kind of showing you the different things you can do up front. Let's do for modern, darker, pastel palette. Colors per rep sector. Mouse over shows exact amount per segment. And then since we have the option to do, days or months, let's do this. 6 chart automatically switches. And then let's do this below the chart. Show data table for chart with one column for each day or month as displayed in the chart. And then let's say table should be dark mode with white text and subtle striping. So let's try this one out, and then we'll see if we want to update it as we get going. So while that's working, let's go ahead and create our app script. So we'll go to extensions and app script. And then let's get rid of this. Apparently I've been working on this project a little bit. So we'll call this HTML dashboard. And then what we'll need to do here in a little bit is we'll need to deploy. So basically we're going to create a web app here. And then while this is working, let's go ahead and create a site here. So we'll create a blank one, and then let's go ahead and make this something like title only. And then we'll do HTML dashboard. And so what we'll do before we close here is we'll put this into a Google site. And so then you'll be able to share this and not have to share the Google Sheet. so we'll do an embed here. And I think it'll be embed code. So we'll get to that here in a second once ChatGPT is finished. All right, so let's look at what we have so far. So it looks like we have our JavaScript here. So code.js, so let's copy that. We'll paste that in here. So this one should be good. And then on this, we have this code.js. So I need to create a index. So let's take a look at this. So index right there is our file name. Let's go ahead and create that index. And then toggle that just so we can see there. And so here is our index HTML. So let's make sure it's still populating there. So we'll let that finish populating. So while this is finishing, let's go ahead and over here and we'll authorize our script real quick. So review permissions, choose our account, and this is just Google's disclaimer. So we'll go to advanced, go to HTML dashboard, and then continue. And then that should be all good. And let's go ahead and do our initial deployment too, and then we'll update this when we're good to go. So we'll go to type and web app, and then we need to change this to anyone, and then we're good to go. So we can call this initial deployment. And so the description is just for your use, but it's a good way to track to see what you've done in the past. So we'll hit deploy. And then this link is basically what we're going to end up feeding into our embed. And so we'll just put this right there as a placeholder, and then I'll come back and we'll deal with that. Let's go back to our index HTML, and then we'll see where we're at. And there we go. So it looks like our code is finally done. So I'm going to select all in here, delete, and then I'm going to paste this in. And so go ahead and save this. And then what we're going to do here is I'm going to update this deployment. But what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to use a test deployment. And so added HTML. So if I do this update deployment every time I make a change, because that's what you have to do in a web app to make the latest changes active or live. So instead of doing that manage deployment and updating each time, I'm going to use a test deployment while we work on this. And the reason why is because anytime we save, this will automatically update versus the other one where we have to basically deploy, manage deployment, update. So let's see what it looks like here. And let's go a little wider. This looks like we got the basics already in here. So that chart looks pretty small. We have sector and sales rep. So we could probably move this to the bottom, our key there. So let's just look at what we need to update here. So these, let's do last 7 days. That looks like to be working. So let's change a couple things here. Let's do year to date. So the date formats in this chart looks a little funky. And so basically what we would do at this point is go through with ChatGPT and then massage each section we want to update. So for example, if we want to change these, so these aren't super intuitive. I wanted a drop down where I could pick them. And so let's update the sales rep and sector to be actual drop downs with a checkbox to select the reps or sectors we want to display. And so we'll label that as change number 1. So I'm going to see if we can get a couple changes here, but sometimes it kind of doesn't capture them all. But we'll see how it does in this one. So on our chart, when we update the date formats, for monthly, let's do something like in 2025, and for days, let's do month day. And then can we make the chart taller and move the labels to the bottom? All right, let's see how that works. So we can close that for now, and then we'll let that think. All right, so it looks like it got this completed now. So I just like to scroll down and make sure it ends with HTML. So that way I know it didn't drop anything. And so I'm gonna do select all and paste over and hit save. And so if I was deploying the active deployment, I would need to go here and do this update, which is hit this edit icon, new version, and then do that. But we're just going to use the test deployment for now until we get the bugs worked out. So now it has these. So it looks like Daniel, Katie, Simon. It doesn't look like it's actually resetting though. And then looks like the charts, the totals are now on the bottom. And let's see if we can do one more thing here while we're doing this. Can we make the scorecards a little more compact? And we'll go ahead and let that run. And then while it's doing that, let's open another ChatGPT and let's give it that URL. So manage deployment. And we'll let this configure this for us. So copy that. And we'll see if that can help us out. And we'll get that in here. All right, so let's just try this out. So embed by URL is what it's saying. So let's insert. And then let's see what happens. We pull this open here. So now that's displaying. And so if we did publish, we can hit publish here. And then publish site link. And then we can open that in a new tab. And now we can see our dashboard on the site. It looks like it'll take a second for that data load, and then there we go. So then we can do month to date, and you can see we can automatically change those. So let's grab this color picker and grab this color and see if we can update this background here. I think it's section colors. So I think we need to do a new theme here. So custom theme. So let's call it custom. Next, custom colors. And so let's add it maybe here. Next, theme. So colors. Let's do background. And add that here. And then that looks nice. And then we can just, we could set this to something else. Maybe I'll change this to white. And then hit publish. And we'll see what that looks like. And then let's go see if this one's updated. So it's like this is updated now. So we should be good on this one. So the other option is we could use this iframe. So we'll just close this out for now and we'll use this. So it looks like this takes a second to refresh, so we'll hit that again. And then our HTML, let's go ahead and make sure, double check real quick. This went all the way down. It's still working there. I'm gonna make this a little wider so we can see a little better over there. here we go. Now we're updated, and you can see that. So it looks like we need a little bit more scrolling. So come over here. You can drag this down a little bit. Give ourselves a little more room. Looks like something like that might work. Maybe we'll give ourselves just a little bit more room, and then we'll hit publish. And let's see if that gets rid of that scroll bar for us. So we'll refresh. Might take 1 or 2 refreshes here. It looks like it takes a second for it to refresh. So it looks like it didn't change yet. So we'll hit refresh again and see if that increases our size. So it looks like it did now. Now it's all the way down here. You can kind of vaguely see that background. And there we go. Now we look a lot cleaner. All right, so let's go back to our HTML. It looks like it completed it now. So let's go ahead and update this and see if it got updated. So we'll go to our temporary one for now. And then it looks like it stacked these now on us. So we'll have to fix that. Wait for the data to refresh. There we go. So it keeps messing up the labels here. So we'll have to go back and fix that here in a second. But it's stacked those. Let's see if this works here. So Daniel and Katie. Okay, so that worked now. Simon, back to all. And now it got back to all. Okay, so that one's at least working now. So let's fix the scorecards. And so while that's working, let's update this and we'll see what that looks like in our live dashboard. So new version, updated HTML, deploy, done. And now if we refresh this, we should see our latest version. Oh, so maybe it's stacked because, oh yeah, it's stacked because we're too narrow. So we'll see if that screws it up now. So if we go back to here, we could do things like make this a little more distinct. So there's a bunch of different things we could do at this point. These labels are kind of off here, so if we mouse over, we can see those, so we don't really need that text there on the chart. There's sector, that could seem more incomprehensible, so we definitely need the chart taller. Not doing us any favors at the moment. But other than that, these look a lot cleaner now. Our sector selections are working. And then if we go by sector, you can see we can toggle back and forth. All right, so it looks like this is done again. So let's go ahead and copy this back in. So copy code, come back in here, select all, paste, and save. And then let's refresh our test one, see what happened here. So it definitely made this taller. And we remove the text from inside the chart with the rep or sector name and move the legend to the bottom. So let's let that run while I'm looking at the rest of this real quick. So our numbers at the top now. Let's look at what happens if we select one rep. That looks pretty good. All. Let's change it to sector. It's pretty cool that you can mouse over and see what the exact number was in each of those. And then you can scroll down as well and go into this section and see that there. All right, so it looks like it just did the render chart function here. So when it does this, we're gonna have to come in here. We're gonna have to look for a section. So it looks like this, render chart. And so we have to go back and look. So there's a render table. So it's probably right above that. So render chart. So the big thing with this is in a function, everything in that function is wrapped with curly braces. Now the confusing part is inside there's multiple curly braces, but in AppScript, if you hover over one, it will highlight the last one there as well. And so I can come down here, come back up to render chart, delete, and then I can paste that new one in there. And then let's go ahead and refresh and see what it does here for us. So there's our labels at the bottom. I got rid of that text. Oh my gosh, it looks so clean. I like that. So one thing I may want to add here, and we make the chart resizable by grabbing anywhere along the bottom of the chart. Because now the chart is like super tall. And so this might be kind of cool, but on my display, I can't even see the whole thing. And so now it's giving me some more stuff here, little pieces. So update the HTML where the chart lives. So if we scroll up here, so if you look at the HTML is up top and the script is down below. And so if it's asking you to update the HTML, we're going to want to scroll up. And so this is at the start of the scripting, the JavaScript that makes everything run. And we come up here. So chart data table, there's the chart. So conveniently label it for us. So we can paste that there and then add CSS. So CSS is above our HTML. So if we scroll all the way up, there's style. So all of our CSS is inside this style. So chart. So let's add this here. And then let's go ahead and format, save, and check out what this looks like. So I don't know where to grab. Oh, here it is. So we can resize now. And then that looks a lot more reasonable. So let's go ahead and redeploy and see what this looks like on our Google site. And then we'll go ahead and wrap this up for your day. So you could keep massaging this with ChatGPT. And so it'll even give you some suggestions there as well. Let's go ahead and update this and then refresh and see what this looks like on our Google site. So I'm going to pull that out and make this full size. And so there again, we can resize our chart and we can see that. So we could come back to our chat and make this maybe a default a little shorter. But other than that, you can keep massaging if you want to add more things or you want to do more tweaks. But that's the basics of how you can vibe code a HTML dashboard using ChatGPT and Google Sheets for the data. So make sure to check out the other videos on our channel for more tutorials on both Google Sheets and AppScript. And as always, have a great day.